One of the other perspectives on future, on being in the future is this, and John and I were talking about this morning. Imagine what it would be like if you could travel 100 years from now and walk into a museum. What would you see? What would be in that museum? So one of the things that would be there is all these chargers you have plugged in, these transformer devices, and all the chargers for your phones and for your AirPods and everything else. You'd see a whole display on the wall of hundreds of different shapes and sizes and plugs. And you'd basically have someone say, "Daddy, did Grandma, great-grandpa have to plug things in to charge them? I don't understand." Now you reverse engineer this and say, okay, that's 100 years in the future, maybe it's 20 years in the future. Whatever we want to pick as the number, it probably will be 20 years, 25 years. Say, okay, so what happened? Okay, well, let's see. Things got smaller, power got better, batteries got better, so they need to be charged less. They were able to charge faster. Things like graphene, organic batteries that are in the lab right now. There's an actual battery that's out in the lab that will power a laptop for 2 years. And when you charge it, it charges in 5 minutes, or under 5 minutes, or 3 minutes. I don't remember the exact thing. And it lasts 2 years of normal use. So if it's in the lab and man's knowledge is doubling so fast, it's not going to take 20 years to get it into the consumer hands. It's only a matter of demand. For example, graphene, how many of you do not know what graphene is? Graphene is a two-dimensional item. It only has 2 dimensions. It's 1 atom thick. And you can do it in sheets and rolls. And you're saying, well, how can you do that? Because it's layered. So it's all layered on top of each other. It's a superconductor. It is a super insulator. It is an absolute miracle material that was actually discovered by accident. And now there's something even better than graphene, another two-dimensional item that I cannot remember the name of. I should have looked it up last night. But graphene is helping to miniaturize electronics. It is helping to improve batteries. The anodes of batteries are going to become graphene, and the power distribution in a battery will change exponentially. And so graphene is prohibitively expensive right now to produce. Well, in 1953, the first transistor was this big, and it cost, at that time, $100,000, which was like $10 million now. And it was this big. Now, you can fit 16 billion transistors on the head of a pin, and at no cost, practically. So we know that things are going to come down. We know that things are going to change. That being said, this museum of the future in 25 years or 20 years from now, what else is in there? I'm sorry? Cars. Yeah, well, yeah, that's going to be, they're going to have a car with gasoline pumping through in a circle, and showing the engine and how inefficient it is. But, I saw an exhibit once at the Smithsonian, and I can't remember the name of it, but I'll describe it. They showed a computer in the 1970s, an IBM with the tapes, the magnetic tapes that would go, and it was their big computer. It was the size of a football field. And then they showed how it got smaller and smaller until they finally showed it in 1983, I think it was, and they showed the first IBM PC. And this is all equivalents. What that football field computer could do, that IBM PC could do. Then, as they progressed through, it was a multiple of IBM PCs. So when they went up, I don't remember the exact timeline, but let's say 5 years later, the technology was the equivalent of 100 IBM PCs. And then it became 1,000 IBM PCs, and it became 1,000,000 IBM PCs as the units got smaller and smaller and smaller. And then at the very end, they show this tiny little computer, which looks like a Mac Mini, compared to how many football fields and how many square miles it took of the 1970s computer. And it was a great analogy to do that. So you can now take that and say, where is it going? Well, I just read an article last week on, they can now do lasers 1 atom thick. That's going to miniaturize electronics beyond our wildest dreams. Quantum computing getting down to the atomic level. Yes, we're a ways away from it, but not as far as you would think. And a storage device the size of a cube of sugar can store all the data on every single computer on the planet with instantaneous access. So where are we going? That means that your wristwatch or your little implant gives you access to just unlimited data, unlimited energy, information. So where does that take us? Well, as Elon Musk is trying to do now, and we're all going to move toward it, is downloading information, converting digital to analog through an implant. You all seen the movie The Matrix? Gets in a helicopter, I need to know how to fly this helicopter, boom, done, with muscle memory and everything. So you basically you could be the best heart surgeon, the best physicist, the best rock climber, and you have all of it that you can access. Expand that into holography. The fantasy of Star Trek's holodeck will someday be reality. Maybe not in our lifetime for that, but it will be. We're going there. So what does that do with housing? Well, as I said yesterday, you don't need money anymore. You have all the food you need. You want the Mona Lisa, you have something create the Mona Lisa and you put it up on your wall. And it's an exact replica with not even a computer can tell the difference, because the value of that changes now because everyone can appreciate it and have it. You want to go to Hawaii? Boom, holodeck creates Hawaii. So what do? You live in a garage. You basically live in a 40 by 40 room that can be anything you need it to be based on the time of day or your commands or your mood. And so what is housing? Housing becomes these monoliths that are all 40 by 40 garages that people never leave. Because you don't even need personal interaction because you have avatars and hollow images. And so you think it's science fiction, but as technology grows, tell me why we won't get there. If the technology affords you that ability, we're already at a point where, and I'm not saying this is a joke, where millennials don't leave the house and they have food delivered and stay home. You don't think that's going to expand exponentially when everything you could ever imagine is at your fingertips? Why would you go somewhere? So you start thinking, okay, we're moving into autonomous vehicles, we're moving into electric cars, but we know that's temporary because although there will be people movers at times and there'll be socialization, but maybe 100 years from now, there's no need to, because maybe there is like a transporter, if they can overcome Heisenberg, and they can transport from place to place. So why do you need vehicles moving on the road? So you look at I'm not a sci-fi fanatic. I don't read science fiction books, and the main reason I don't do that is because I'd never leave the house. I probably would just live in all these fantasy worlds. But the point is that you watch these things and you realize that they can be the future. Now, maybe not some of Star Wars technology, but a lightsaber. There are lasers that can cut through heavy metals or through solid lead. It can just slice through like butter. So why not have a laser loop that can do that? It's not out of the realm of possibility, and people in the labs are starting to develop these things. So if you say then, of course, you want to look at your own technology, your own company, we're going pretty far afield. Richie wanted to look at the future of devices, right? Where do we think they go? Does everyone agree that the glasses that are being produced now are going to be one of the next steps toward that? You might have a little pouch thing on your belt that talks to the glasses, and you can do everything from that. Because the glasses will give you virtual reality, bone conducting sound, Bluetooth, camera, and even a heads-up display of the camera or other data that will project onto the lens. And that is a very logical next step. Anybody disagree with that? So where does it go from there? Contact lenses. They already make contact lenses that you can do a 3-time zoom. Already available that you can do. They've come out of the lab, they're doing FDA testing, 3-time zoom. They have contact lenses that you can darken and change color. So you can choose the color you want and the density. Already available. So now you have zoom, now you have color, contact lenses also that are magnification, reading glass magnification. Those already exist. So what else can they do? Well, as electronics shrink and lasers come down to 1 atom thick, what else can you put in that contact lens? Heads-up display will be obviously one. Movies, close your eyes and watch a movie. Or go into a dark room and project a movie in your head. Why would you need a screen? And it's a 3-dimensional because you have stereo vision. So it puts this image in front of you in stereo and gives you a movie. What about that? Sound can be projected to a specific point. You can do bone conduction, but imagine sitting in a room, if you look at speaker technology, speakers are huge devices, and they've always been big, subwoofers and multiple speakers because it's just dealing with the vibration. But then there are planars, which are a single membrane. There are devices that you can put on a wall that make the wall vibrate and create sound. Now they're working with sound projectors, where I can project, you know what a parabolic microphone is? Anyone not know what a parabolic microphone is? What? Parabolic microphone. Okay, imagine an umbrella that instead of blocking you from the rain, I'm pointing it toward you, and the shaft of the umbrella is pointed at you, and there's a microphone. Yeah, right. So you can, I'm sorry? Right, exactly. So you can hear someone whisper 200 feet away with a parabolic microphone. Well, what scientists have done in the lab is they've turned that around, and now I can project a sound to you where only you can hear it. I could be 100 feet away and I could whisper into a microphone and only you will hear it, no one else. So with that, speaker technology is now changing. Because now instead of having all these speakers around the room, you have sound projectors. And you can hit a sound projector that bounces off a reflector so that, for example, if I'm sitting here and I want sound behind me, sound projectors can shoot front here to me, and then at the same time have a beam that goes to a reflecting device that'll bounce off it and come back to me for the rear. Bounce off the back wall or the corners or take a rim shot on a pool table kind of thing. So that's already being created. So if we take Richie's device, where's that going to be? How many people think you're going to actually have a physical device that you look at? Do you? I don't think so. I think that. That we're going to have or not? I don't think you will have one. No, I don't think I will either. Yeah, I think the next step in devices, if you want my opinion of the future, is this will become paper thin as electronics gets really small. It'll roll up or fold up or pull out, and it'll become sort of a translucent screen and be able to be laser generated, because you'll have laser projectors that are shooting out 1 atom thick lasers that you can create anything you want. It'll be a perfectly clear image that's clear. When it's off, it's like a piece of glass you're looking through, and then, or flexible glass, and then it projects. And you can do anything you want, or move, or zoom, or command. And then from there, it goes into all the optical. So let's go back in time for a moment, okay? We go back in time to a typewriter. That's how you typed onto paper with whiteout and stickers and ribbons, and that was the original form of creating a document after handwriting. That became a Verityper. That became an IBM Selectric with a ball instead of the pins. That became a Wang, and then it became a word processor, and then it became a computer with a keyboard, and then everyone's saying, oh, I'm still tied to the keyboard. No, you're not. There's voice recognition. So whether it's Dragon or any of the others, you can now speak, and that's gone into the technology of the phone. So let's say that along those same lines, the walking through your house, having to find your device, reach for it, unplug it, go to the website, go, okay, there it is, buy again in my orders, is primitive. It's too involved and too mechanical and it's like typing on a typewriter.
I could have just gone, Alexa, please order some dog food.
That's where you're going. So here's the thing.
Now.
Right.
If you set up your Alexa Amazon.
Well, now that's a different question. First we started with what are the devices going to be like. Here's the thing that I'll share just my view of this. On the technology side, Amazon aside for a second, because I think Amazon's a separate topic. On the device side alone, I think it's going to change to, you're going to have video, visual and audio, where you have an Alexa type device, whether it's Google or Apple or Alexa or Amazon, you're going to be able to, it's going to know what you've done. It's tied into your purchases, it's tied into your preferences, it's tied into all the things that your contact list. I just tried something on my Alexa and I said, call Andrea, and boom, did. And I'm talking to Andrea through the Alexa, through Echo. So they're becoming smarter, they're becoming more integrated. Turn on the lights, let the vacuum cleaner go, change the temperature. It's all going to be controlled. And in the blink of an eye, 2, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, everything will be integrated. Flat screen TVs are getting thinner, and now it's really where you can put a device on the wall and it projects lasers onto the wall, and you can make any wall your TV. They started with one that had to be only 3 feet from the wall. Now it's a device that's put on the wall. I just saw a demo of it on a video. So that's going to change whether you put it on the wall, you put it on the ceiling, it'll be invisible, and this whole entire wall becomes, or that whole wall becomes a TV, because it's all laser projection. You don't need light emitting diodes anymore. And it's not that it's laser projection onto the wall that reflects, it's a matrix of lasers that go around and project to each other. So it's luminescent to you. So it becomes easy. No one's going to go for a keyboard. No one's going to go for scrolling up and pressing buttons and moving their thumb around and going back to Amazon. That we can see, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah, I mean, why would technology keep depending on a keyboard? The phone itself eliminates the keyboard partially, because you can use it to get somewhere, or you can just say Amazon and it'll come up without typing in Amazon.com. Because I can go on my phone now and either press the app, or if I'm in Google, I can just hit the microphone and say Amazon, and it goes to Amazon. And I'm there. Now, if we project that further, then yes, we know we can go to implants. We know that's where it's eventually going. But the interaction of your life is, how much do I want to give my AI, if for lack of a better term, control over what I do? Well, I want the maximum convenience. One must assume that with quantum computing and with the greater technology, there'll be greater protection against viruses and phishing and all the bad guys out there. Yes, for every lock you create, there's always someone who has a key. We know that. But at some point with quantum computing, you cannot hack. From everything I've read, it's just impossible. The numbers, or I don't know what they call them, but the ability to crack through the layers is just too complex. But my feeling is, well, if a computer can create that, a computer can create a key. So I think there'll always be some of that. But if you're handing your life over to a device, a system, which people will do because they want the convenience, they want it easy. People are ignoring hacks and Facebook. Look at the whole Experian hack. Okay, it's yesterday's news. Everybody's personal financial data and social security numbers were at 77 million were at risk. How many people really did anything about it? Nobody. I mean, percentage-wise, nobody. People just don't feel affected by it. They're too overwhelmed and they just want to make their lives easier. So they're going to turn their lives over. I'm not going to talk about the implications for government or Big Brother or any of that. I'm just saying the devices become more sophisticated. They know who you are. If you have an autonomous car that I call on my app, it's going to know who I am, where I'm going, what my history of travel has been, what music I like, how I want the LED lights in there, what temperature I want. That's going to expand to everything we do. We're going to walk in, and you know this because we're part of it, you're going to walk into Home Depot and a la, the movies. I'm sorry? Minority Report, yeah, because we're running the back end for a company that's trying to do this. It's going to say, Mr. Reiss, good morning, how are you? These ladders are on sale for you and you alone because we know you could use one as a $10 gift certificate at checkout. And it's all personalized to you, so wherever you go, it's the personal experience, and you become technologically entitled. Your whole life becomes entitled because you have everything at your fingertips you want being done for you. And that's going to get exponential. The people who are going into school today will have jobs that we don't know exist yet. We have no idea they exist. We already know that lawyers and doctors are history. They're toast. There's no way in the world. Sorry, Raymond. But, you know. That's why I'm changing. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
One man.
Oh, I thought you were acting out. I didn't realize you were acting. I'm sorry. So, you know, that's to me where it's going. The device becomes insignificant. Right now, our attention, 100% of our attention is, oh, we got to pull this out. Oh, it rang. Oh, I have to do this. Flip up. It's all about interacting with this device. This gets in the way of the future, in my opinion. I think that this is inefficient for where we are. This is the typewriter that goes away. It's an interface that is as sophisticated as we can make it today, but primitive by standards 10 years from now, based on technology. The interface of the telephone, you know, when Alexander Graham Bell and his wife Tinker got on the phone, sorry, I couldn't help it, you know, if you look at that, and actually it wasn't Bell who invented the telephone, it was Gray, and he had the working model before Bell, who got to the patent office before him with an not working model, but he had made so many patents, the patent examiner said, we're going to give him 24 hours, which couldn't happen today because it's first come, first serve with a working model. And it was also interesting because it was said that if he knew anything about electricity, he couldn't have done the phone because it defied everything that was known at the time about electricity. But if you look at it, that as a form, there was a Morse code telegraph, and then it became telephone, then it became Marconi, the wireless, and look at where we are now. I remember as a kid as a very young kid, almost out of diapers, going to the 1963 World's Fair, and video phones were predicted to be in the future. And everybody was amazed. This was, you know, you were going to go into this booth and sit in a soundproof booth and be able to talk to someone on video. And everybody was, the lines were, I remember as a kid, were around the block to try this technology. And now, you know, FaceTime, who cares? We're so far beyond it. They showed a microwave oven that, you know, was beyond belief. Now they're talking about a way of just the same way microwaves heat things up. There's technology that's being worked on in the labs that I'm reading about to freeze things, to super freeze things quickly. It's not there yet. They're working on it. So everything is.
20 years ago. Can I capitalize on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. You know, you look at fusion reactors. We're nowhere near ready to do a fusion reactor, but at the speed that we're going, 5, 10 years from now, there'll be fusion reactors. Do all of you know what fusion reactors are? Fission is like the atomic bomb, which is what nuclear power is right now. It's a controlled nuclear bomb to heat up water, to spin have the steam spin a turbine. Back to primitive, because using nuclear energy to superheat water to get the steam so you can turn a turbine that then turns magnets to generate electricity. What am I missing here? Well, I'm missing geothermal, I'm missing solar. They can now have solar cells that they can put inside paint on coat a car. They have solar cells that can be put into glass that are clear because they read infrared and ultraviolet light as well, so they can be charging when the sun is down or cloudy. Nobody thought that solar cells would ever get past 5 or 10%. Well, commercially they're 15. In the lab, they're more than 45. So where do you think they're going to be in 10 years? 70, 80% efficient? The first solar cell was 6 inches thick, first solar panel. Now they're down to 1.5 inches. So where do you think they're going to be in 10 years, 15 years? Paper thin. So solar will be everywhere. Once you have solar that's beyond 20%, burning oil is the most ridiculous thing in the world because solar becomes so much more efficient than fossil fuels. So all those liquid brontosauruses can stay in the ground. And so if we project that, I look at the device as the old IBM Selectric typewriter. It's sophisticated, more so than a regular typewriter was at the turn of the century, but It's not there yet. It's still a hindrance. And what we want to do is get rid of the hindrance. So look at it a different way. The first cellular phone was a brick in 1980 that you needed almost 2 hands to carry. And I remember also the first, I had one of the first compact portable computers. Yeah, they couldn't call it a laptop. It weighed 40 pounds. I actually took it on a plane with me to go traveling with a computer one time only. And the thing, I needed a separate, wheel thing with it, the straps, and it was like, this is ridiculous. And I literally just got rid of it when I got back. But the first phones were bricks. Then you had these big cell phones you'd clip on your belt that went down to almost down to your knee. Then the first car phone, that was like, 40 pounds of electronics. And look where we are now. It's all shrunk. This is going to shrink too, to the point where it's no longer necessary to use your fingers because it's too small anyway. So it'll either project, or you'll put something down, or you'll have a little cube you put down and there's a keyboard if you have to do it. But voice recognition is getting much more sophisticated. I want to go into one other thing before we do. Normally I don't talk about who my specific clients are ever, because I keep that, I'm always under NDAs and I never divulge that. But I'm going to tell you one that did come to me. The United States Post Office came to me years ago because they finally clued into the fact that they're going to be extinct and they're going to be a relic that the archaeologists dig up. The only thing that's saved them so far is Amazon, and once drones come in, that's it. Very few people are really doing the kind of direct mail they used to. There's still some out there, and a lot of it's very local. But so I said to them, you have to modernize. Now, you have to understand, I'm dealing with an organization where if you asked how many people work for the post office, and I'd say, about a quarter of them. They don't get it. So I said, what you need to do is have every house in America have its own email address. So that if you have it's your address at, or an algorithm that'll encrypt it. But if I move into a house, I have an email address for that house. And then what you do is you go out into the industry, into the world, and you say, okay, everybody wants to market to that house. Let's put it and give that consumer, that house, the choice. What do they want? Who do they want to receive things from? Where do they want in their email box? What suppliers, what companies? And when you give the consumer the choice, they're going to respond to the brands and the names they know and the products or the categories. And then you market that. So if you say, I'm a nutrition fanatic. I'm all about health and exercise, and I want information about this. They're telling you what they want. And you can use that and have targeted ads going to them that they can choose to accept or not. And it's all encrypted through you. It has to go through you. Nobody can reach that house on their own. They go through the post office and say, this is what I want. I want this many names and this with this response, and you can make it as detailed as you want. And you then, as the post office, go out and poll these homes with deeper questions, more information, slowly in a drip campaign, in an effort to better serve you. We're now concentrating today on this topic, and you roll that through the country. Now, this week, we're doing this one. And what do you know? In a year, you've got 52 topics in extreme detail. So over the course of a few years, you know everything about this household. And when the marketer says, hey, I'm selling blue widgets that sit on top of the yellow flower stand they have, you know exactly who to sell that to because you know everybody who has a yellow flower stand at their house. I just made up a ridiculous example, but you get the idea. And the post office was like deer in the headlights. Huh? They had no clue. It was so far beyond them. I said, okay, thanks for playing, guys. That was it. And I left. But there's an idea of where it changes the marketing game completely. Because now you have direct access to people and know exactly what they want.